The following video contains footage from the Endwalker Media Tour. As such, this footage is not representative of the final product, and you will find significant differences both visually and elsewhere. I do remind you, please do not take this as the final version, but at the same time, thank you to Square Enix for providing me with this opportunity, and I hope you enjoy this. So here we are on White Mage, at the time of recording, current main on live servers. I don't know if it's going to stay that way, considering I'm in love with Sage at the moment, but this is the OG, this is what I've always played as. Let's hop on to the new abilities then, just to show you a brief bit of footage before we get to the tooltips. But I just wanted to show you Glare 3, and that's what that looks like, which is really, really cool. You'll notice how quick that cast time is, which I think personally is lovely. It's nice to have that reduced cast time on things like that. Then we also have, let's do a few more glares, but also we have Deer looking exactly the same. Pretty much your rotation of DPS abilities is going to remain the same. Yeah, pretty much everything is going to remain the same, but as you'll notice, there are some changes. For example, Thin Air there on our hotbar has 2 charges of Thin Air, and we also have 2 charges of Divine Benison. We'll get to that in the tooltips and my opinions on that. This is what Holy 3 looks like then, which I think is absolutely beautiful. I was like, oh my goodness, look how pretty this is. So Holy 3 then, the direct rank upgrade from Holy 1. No idea where Holy 2 is. You'll have to ask Yoshi P that one yourself. But how cool is that? So less white explosions and more of those lily explosions. Speaking of lilies, here's the Lily Bell ability. How cute is that? That's what that looks like in the actual game. This is obviously pulsing AoE heals depending on, you see I've got 5 stacks of Lily Bell. Every time I take damage I lose one of those stacks and it cures me and people around me, and it basically heals for a set amount if we don't use any of those stacks. That's pretty much how that works. It's really useful actually in practice in the Tower of Zot that I did run. But anyway, that's pretty much all of the new abilities. Nothing really has majorly changed to White Mage in the way you play it. We've also got Aqua Veil, I forgot about that. Everybody gets a single target shield. That's exactly what Aqua Veil does. It's a 15% shield to you or whoever you put it on for 8 seconds. Very nice. Right, let's move on to the tooltips then. That's exactly why we're here to discuss this particular job. So when it comes to tooltips and changes, for the most part, the White Mage toolkit does remain the same as in 5.x, like I've just demonstrated. But there are some changes here and there, as well as some new additions. Stone has a recast timer adjustment to 2:44 seconds. That's actually up from 2 seconds 39. And now we have much faster cast times on our damage abilities across the board. It feels a lot smoother, a lot quicker, and quicker casts of stone or any ability equals more incentive for people to learn to DPS at lower levels on White Mage without worrying about the longer cast times when they feel like they need to actually heal. So you're going to see people actually, hopefully, be incentivized to DPS more on a White Mage because it's quite strong, as you've already seen. You'll see this a lot then across all of the healers. They clearly wish to reinforce the fact that the DPS aspect of all healers is required, especially for progression. Cure 1 then has a slightly longer recast time of 2:44 seconds now, up from 2:39 in the retail version. They're bringing this across the board. Aero as well has a longer recast time of 2:44, up from 2:39 on retail. Medica has actually been buffed, now with a 400 cure potency, up from 300 on the normal servers. It has a 2:44 second recast timer as well, up from 2:39. But that 100 potency, again, potencies are something we're not supposed to really dwell on or talk about, but I'm going to mention them anyway because, you know, I don't know how much of this is going to change. The disclaimer is everything may change, nothing is final, please don't look into them too much. But as it stands in that, it does appear to be 100 potency bonus. Fluid Aura has been removed from the game, thank goodness. I personally say goodbye to that useless bind ability. And I don't know really anybody who used it anyway. Me personally, I ended up taking that off my bars as soon as I learned how to play White Mage properly after a while. Stone 2 has its potency reduced from 200 to 190 in this build. Again, potency is not final. It's also got that 244-second recast timer. Cure 2 has a potency increase of 800, up from 700 on live servers with that 244-second recast change as well. Aero 2 has had its recast brought up to 244 second with no other changes, seemingly. Medica 2 actually got buffed. 244 second recast timer, but now does 250 cure potency, up from 200 on the live servers. That's a 50 increase. So I don't know if that'll change the way it is, stay the way it is, or if that changes. Not going to happen, who knows. Presence of Mind now does down to 120 second recast timer, down from 150 seconds that you'd have to wait on the live servers. So now we can use this much more often, which is, but it does exactly what it did previously. It's very nice to have access to this more frequently. Regen has actually been buffed as well, same 18-second duration on it, but now has a cure potency on this build of 250 up from 200, again with that new 2-second 44 recast time. As well as Cure 3 now has a potency of 600 up from 550, so another 50 on that with that 244 second recast. Holy has a 244 second recast costing 400 MP down from 600 MP on the live servers, so that's still inflicting the same amazing 4-second stun that we love on trash packs, with the same 140 potency it had previously. But obviously you have even more MP now, and the reason to use this in your dungeon runs is there. You don't have to make excuses, and they're basically saying, please use Holy. There you go, 200 less MP. It's a good deal in my opinion. Benny hasn't changed. Afflatus Solace potency up from 700 to 800 with that 244 second recast change. Asylum still here with pretty much no changes at all. Stone 3's potency down to 230 from 240 on the live servers with that 244 second recast. A size is exactly the same as it was previously. Thin Air then, down to a 60-second charge time, which now has 2 charges. This is a nice change. Gone is the previous 120-second recast time, and now you just wait 60 seconds for a single charge to fill, with a maximum of 2 charges to use. This is still available at level 58 and above. However, instead of having 12 seconds of any actions used to cost you nothing in terms of MP when you pressed it, now it only works for the next spell you cast within those 12 seconds. This, even with 2 charges, is now making Thin Air only kind of useful for the heavy mana abilities, but that's kind of when you would use it anyway, and allows for much less spam casting during that period of time whilst the buff's up. So you'll probably end up, most people who don't plan that properly will end up using more mana now as a result of that, because they're not planning ahead. It is nice to have a charge every 60 seconds instead of waiting 120, but I still think that the way it was before was much more powerful, and I think this is more of a bit of a nerf in terms of the skill ceiling, knowing exactly what you're pressing when you're using Thin Air, rather than just pressing it and then spamming whatever. So it's a bit of a nerf, but also a positive in the same way, I think, personally. Tetra is the same as it was before, not worth mentioning. Stone 4 down to 270 potency from 280 and has a 2-second 44 recast time. Divine Benison is the same, however it now has 2 charges. We mentioned this in the gameplay earlier, and has a charge time of 30 seconds instead of a cast time. This is actually really, really nice. Having 2 charges of Benison to use on your tanks or whoever when you need it is going to be really useful. I personally like this change, and I think this has allowed us to have even more shield viability than we did previously. Planetary Indulgence is the same as it was. Deer is down to 244 second recast, and its potency seems to have been nerfed actually, down to 60 from the 120 it has on live servers. Again, everything is subject to change. Glare then has a potency of 290 on this build, down from the 300 we have on live servers, as well as that 244 second recast timer adjustment. Again, nothing final at this point. Afflatus Misery is now 244 second recast and is exactly the same pretty much everywhere on that tooltip as it was before. Afflatus Rapture now has a cure potency of 400 up from 300 and a 244 second recast timer. So an extra 100 potency on that. which is quite significant for Rapture actually, but again, not final. We have to put that in there. Temperance stays exactly the same on live. So that's pretty much wrapped up all the usual spells and their changes. Let's move on to the new ones. So Glare 2, available at level 82, is a direct upgrade. A direct rank over Glare 1, doing unexpected damage with a potency of 310 with that 244-second recast timer. Holy 3 then, don't ask about Holy 2, I have no idea what happened to that number. Again, ask Yoshi P. Your Holy 3 is a rank upgrade on Holy, available at level 82 as well, and still has our stun of 4 seconds, which is juicy, with a recast time of 244 seconds. 150 potency AoE in an 8-yard range. Perfect. Use it often. It's incredibly pretty as well. There's less white flashes of explosion, more exploding purple flowers or blue. Is it sort of like lilies, blue lilies or purple lily sort of flowers exploding? Very nice. Aqua Veil is our new single target shield ability they gave us. Pretty much all healers are being given one in this particular expansion. This is instant cast with a recast of 60 seconds and reduces the damage taken by a party member or yourself by 15% for 8 seconds. This, alongside the 2 charges of Divine Benison, is going to be a lot of fun indeed. Lots of shields. And lastly, but not least, our lovely new level 90 ability is called Lily Bell, and I love this thing so much. It's an instant cast, and you place this via a reticle on your screen. It has a recast timer of 180 seconds and a range of 30 yards. This places a healing blossom at the designated location, granting 5 stacks of Lily Bell to yourself. This lasts for 15 seconds. If you take damage, this will expend 1 Lilybell stack to heal yourself and all party members within a radius of 20 yards from you, with a cure potency of 400. Very strong heal. It's like bursting a bubble, basically. Stacks of a bubble. You take damage, it heals. The effect of this action can only be triggered once per second, so obviously you can have multiple every second. The healing blossom dissipates when all stacks are expended, or the effect expires, and any remaining stacks of Lilybell when the effect will expire will trigger an additional healing effect, which has a potency of 200 for every remaining stack of Lilybell. So even if you don't get damaged through that time and it doesn't heal everyone, it will do a massive AoE heal for a potency of 200 for whatever stacks are remaining. So it's actually not completely wasted if you use it at a time where nothing is going on. So if you have 5 stacks, that's 5 times 200 potency. That's quite significant. So yeah, actually that's one of the tactics that you might employ when there's less damage taken, but there's about to be something big, or you know, something else. But that's quite good. It is absolutely awesome, but obviously on some fights and situations, it's going to be over before you even notice it, right? Especially if it can go off every second. So you can imagine an Akmorn, right, with, like, say, 5 hits. It's a very cool ability, though, and a very pretty one, and I love the fact it's our new spell. Very nice. So let's move on to the dark side of jobs. Let's go to the traits. They seem to love traits, this expansion. So in terms of traits, let's only read the changes or additions. But by the way, even though this isn't a change or anything or an addition, I thought I'd mention 3 Cure is still here. So I thought I'd point that out. I'm sure some people would love to know. It's a very controversial thing, 3 Cure. I'm sure people in the comment section will tell you all about why they like or hate it. But there we go. I'm not going to dwell on that one. Certainly not with an opinion, but it's still here. The only new stuff then is Glare Mastery, which is upgrading the rank of Glare to rank 3 at level 82. Holy Mastery upgrades the rank of Holy to 3 at level 82. Enhanced Healing Magic. This increases the healing potency of Cure to 500, Medica to 400, Cure 2 to 800, Regen to 250, Cure 3 to 600, Medica 2 to 250, and Medica 2's Regen effect to 150. Afflatus Solace to 800, and the Afflatus Rapture to 400. This will actually happen at level 85 when those potencies change. And finally, we have Enhanced Divine Benison. This allows you to gain the accumulation of charges for Divine Benison up to 2 at level 88. So you don't get your 2 charges of Divine Benison before level 88. Bear that in mind. So to wrap up then, Potencies really don't interest me as they're not final. A lot of things are going to change. Although I don't think many things will change, this feels fairly balanced the way it is. And I don't think things are going to change too much, but we have to put that disclaimer. But I am waiting to see how it plays on live servers. I'm not going to dwell on potency reductions or increases. But the new spells then, Aquavale and Lilybell, are nice. And I love the 2 charges of Benison. Shields are actually becoming even more powerful and useful, even though it's still retaining its place, in my eyes, as the top of throughput healing. It's really difficult for me to not see the meta leaning towards White Mage and Sage together as a combo, especially after playing in this media tour. Thank you all kindly for watching, and I'll see you all next time.